If you want to continue to follow our adventure, click subscribe. So you don't miss anything, click the bell notification. I always say that you got to do a good long test run before you decide to become a nomad. And when I say good long test run, I mean in every season. Because you really don't have any knowledge of what it's like, say, camping in the winter. A lot of people seem to think, oh, you're always going to go to a warmer climate as a nomad. Well, it's just not true. You know, we've tried for 2 years in a row to stay in a warmer climate, and we had to go back into a wintry climate both years. As a matter of fact, the second half of our first winter, we went to Florida expecting to stay warm, and it snowed. So, I mean, it was one of the coldest winters Florida had at the time. And the reason I bring this up is I get a lot of comments that says, you know, Rob, you're really inspiring. I'm building my camper right now, and it's going to be finished in May, and I'm going to start my adventure. You know, something like that. The other comment I get a lot, and I have a lot of sympathy for this, so don't think I'm talking negatively, is someone will say, I'm getting ready to be forced to live in my car. I'm trying to learn how to do that. To take a moment and talk about the car, I think you can need to take a test run on that as well. Well, right now, you still have a roof over your head, a house, and internet, and a car. So here's what I'm going to recommend to you. I think you need to go out for at least a week to live in your car for a week. Try to, you know, city dwelling or whatever it is you intend to do, you need to try that out for a week. Let's say you are going to city dwell and you're going to stay close by to your job. You're just trying to reduce your rent costs. So you're going to go live in your Toyota Prius. And I say that because there are people living in a Toyota Prius. Go see if you can find a parking spot. See how many times the cops come by your car, knock on the door. How bad is the activity in your city at night? Are you really willing to deal with the illegal activities that may be going on in these spots that you have to camp? If you have the ability to go back to your house during your test run, you might be able to rethink some things. So now getting back to voluntarily being a nomad. Just the other day, there was a guy who used to comment on my channel all the time, and he started a YouTube channel. And he's getting ready to start his adventure. He just went out and bought a van, and he's building it up. And he says, as soon as I get my van built, I mean, it sounds like he's getting ready to do it right now. You know, he's not getting ready to do long-term test runs. He's going to do it right now. And he says, I'm going to show all these glam mads and scam mads and chicken littles how this lifestyle is really done. Well, probably not. You're probably going to run into the same problems all the other glam mads, you know, whatever you want to call them. What he's talking about is other YouTubers doing this lifestyle. When we started our lifestyle, we started in a pop-up camper. A lot of people thought we were crazy. But we had actually done a test run, several of them, long-term test runs. We did one in the winter, and the reason I did it in the winter was because I really wanted to see if you could stay in a pop-up camper long-term in the winter. And, you know, I wanted to make sure the Mr. Heater portable buddy would keep us warm and the blankets would keep us warm and what we needed to do to you know, insulate the camper better. We learned a lot of things while we were doing our test run. So we were able to go back to the house and buy components that we needed. I know one of the things I did initially was, well, there's two things. One, I didn't buy a battery charger for the generator. And the other thing I did was I got a really small battery because I didn't think that we were going to use that much. It just wasn't enough battery, so we had to get another battery. So these are just a couple examples of things that didn't work out during our test run. So we were able to go back to the house, modify all our problems. And during our test run, we went down to Florida, for example. And when we got into Georgia, we learned, hey, you know what? Freecampsites.net isn't always right, because when we got down in Georgia, it was getting late, you know, 6, 7 o'clock at night. And we got to the area where the campground was supposed to be, and it wasn't there. I mean, and we looked for like an hour trying to find this place. It just wasn't there. So we had to go and find another campground. Well, we learned our lesson there. So when we actually started out our adventure, in our pop-up camper, mind you, a pop-up camper, we were completely prepared. And we were able to travel all over the place. Well, then we got into Florida and someone burned down our pop-up camper. I've told this story a lot, so I'm not going to go through it again. But that meant that we had to do something different. So we ended up building a camper on the back of our truck without a test run. In 2 weeks, we built the camper and we just went for it. And it has been the hardest year so far out of this adventure, where we can now just say, just now, that we are ready to really go out exploring. When we built it in 2 weeks, and we did a 2-week test run right there in Florida, next to my dad's house. In case something went wrong, we could go back to dad's house and fix it. We went into Missouri, and guess what's in Missouri? More family. I was able to stay at my mom's house. Just in case something went wrong, we could fix it. You can't just leave your camper behind when you build it on the back of the truck, which is something that we could do with the pop-up. So you're always toting your house around. That means that if you need to go to town or you want to go sightseeing, you got to pack up your entire campground, put it all away. Don't get me wrong, there are advantages to having a camper on the back of the truck, but there are also some disadvantages. So then we went back to Missouri over the winter, found out the camper wasn't going to work in the wintertime. So we had to make a significant change, and we had to put plastic siding on the side of the camper. We used Coroplast. Down in Florida again, we went down to Florida to get it all fixed up down at Dad's house. So here we are the entire time staying close to houses that we could do repairs. But if we'd have had a house, of course, while we were building this new camper, we could have went out, tested it, see if it was going to work, come back to the house and do the repairs just like we did in the pop-up camper. It became much more difficult not having a house during this test run, if you want to call it that, for the last year in this camper. Well, now the year is up. We've done it in all 4 seasons, really cold temperatures. We got down to 2 degrees. We've went through a tornado activity, really strong winds. We know the camper held up well there. The summertime, it got up into the 100 degrees. The test run is so vitally important. Thanks for watching. Click like if you like the video, and happy travels.